Well, good afternoon. My name is Jake Rickwell,
My name is Charlie Baur.
and this is Racing Paradise. Welcome back to the Short Shoot, episode number 2. I want to thank Jonesville Lumber and Blondes Outdoor Services for everything that they do for us. But every time we get a new member, a new guest here on the show, we want to make sure to ask and make sure that they're having a good week. So, Charlie, how's the week been going for you and your program? I know we talked about off camera, kind of sidelined. How's that been going, and how kind of is the recovery process going for you?
Yeah, just not feeling the best, but went to the doctors. They did a bunch of tests, which was really good. Just wanted to find the root cause of everything. But unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, after qualifying, just didn't really feel right. Got checked up by the medical team at Butler. So huge thanks to, first of all, Tim and his crew for having an ambulance there and being able to check my vitals. Obviously, they're not our primary doctor, so they can't do everything, but definitely, helped me. But all my vitals looked good, but, wanted to make sure there's nothing underlying. So went to my family doctor. Still waiting on a few test results, but everything looks pretty good. And we're getting ready for Hartford this Friday with the All-Stars, and then Saturday at Butler again. So dropped a few spots in the Butler point standings, but hopefully going to gain that back over these last couple races, starting in August and through September.
You got support from Rhino Racing with Jason Bond and everybody there that is with the program. Brad Lamberson also is a driver with the same team, the same affiliation, the same support, right? How has that been for you, kind of having Jason Blonde in your corner as far as, you race pavement sprint cars and also transition to dirt, kind of the same thing Jason did. How kind of a cornerstone piece is he there in your corner?
Jason's been huge in my career. You mentioned the pavement racing, and that's where I actually met Jason and his family, who everyone is just awesome there. But was racing at Berlin in 2024, and ran a couple of pavement races, but had been to a all-star show on the dirt, and obviously seen 410 dirt sprint cars, and thought they were super cool. And had a couple of off weeks in between the pavement races, and asked Jason if I could help out, buy my own pit pass, travel down, just kind of just experience what they do on a given night and what they do as a team. He agreed to it, and just slowly started doing more, scraped some mud for the first couple of weeks, but, showed me, how to tune the engine on shocks, just, really they put a race night together. Obviously they're pretty successful around the Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana area on the dirt, but really fortunate for that. And they had a chassis in the corner that they would always joke, "Oh, that's the one you're going to buy." And obviously you laugh it off in the moment, but at the start of the 2025 season, ended up buying the chassis. I saved up some money, and my parents helped me out a little bit too. So we bought the chassis as a roller. Thought it was going to be a roller for that 2025 season. And then Jason and then his car owner, Phil, said, "Hey, I want to see what you can do." So we ran some 360 races and ended up throwing a 410 in at the end of the year. Had some decent finishes at Butler, and then put a deal together on full-time 410 dirt sprint cars in 2026, and kind of has led us up to this point. But it's awesome. Like I said, Jason's been a extremely good driver coach for me. Coming from the pavement, it's so different than the dirt. So him being able to relate some things, and obviously him racing at most of these tracks in Michigan before. Before this year, I'd never been to Hartford Speedway and ran at I-96 once. So just having that skill set has been awesome, just from my perspective as a driver. But again, everyone who makes up their team has helped us a ton. And then Brad coming on this year as well, obviously very successful with Great Lakes Super Sprints and the 360s. He's provided some insight as well, and it's been cool to get to know Brad on a more personal level than just someone you see at the track.
So you talked about scraping the dirt. Everybody started somewhere in life as far as getting a job, working, gaining money. What was the time growing up as a kid, realizing that, hey, maybe this racing deal is kind of my thing? I mean, as it's mentioned here in the title of the video, first generation racer. I went on your website before we went on the air a couple of days ago, and this and that, and I was just like, I got to figure out what Charlie Baur is about and this and that. And I saw on the website, in your little bio there on your professional website, people that can go see that, they had snowmobiles, off road, like you're all into the kind of stuff. What realized to you that, hey, I'm having fun on this off road stuff, and I can turn it into this racing passion?
Yes, so my racing story is pretty different than a lot of the racers nowadays. As you mentioned, I'm a first generation driver, so none of my family raced. My grandfather did work for General Motors, and so did my parents. So I was always around vehicles. Always went to car shows. Went there when I was 2, 3, 4 years old, and that's where I kind of got my start. I had Hot Wheels when I was 3 and 4, and would make car shows in our living room. I know my parents loved that because that wasn't a trip hazard. But grew up around snowmobiles, quads, dirt bikes, just the typical Michigan power sports things, and had a ton of fun. Obviously, racing wasn't a huge part of my life then. I mean, obviously, as a kid, you watch the Daytona 500, the Indy 500, some of those big races, but you don't really know anyone. You just see fast cars and think it's cool. But as I got older, started to follow NASCAR a little bit more, and when I was 12, I sat in a sprint car at Back to the Bricks, a pretty big car show just north of us in Flint, and thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and wanted to get into it. So from there, we went down to MMRA, which is down in Waterford, tested a quarter midget. They have like a little test day, did that and ended up liking it. Had a scholarship car, which is a club funded car for the year. Just as a rookie year, so you don't make a huge investment in it, but did fairly well in that and liked it. So we bought quarter midgets and did that for 2 years. Had good success around Waterford and a couple other tracks, but eventually outgrew that and went into dirt go-karts for 2 years, which was really cool. It taught me how to learn car control. Obviously, racing quarter midgets, you want to stay on the throttle, run that perfect line. With the dirt go-karts, the line's changing a ton. And then as I was turning 16, Must See Racing had some open seats in their Midwest Lights division. So I got one of those and was able to hop in a pavement car the day before I turned 16. So Jim Hanks had to talk to the track owner a little bit, but so we always joke about that. But started racing pavement at 16, and then like I mentioned before, raced all the way up until 2025 on pavement, and then split time in 2025. But pavement was really fun. It taught me to drive a full size car, and obviously racing at such historic tracks, Owasso Speedway, Berlin, Lorraine, Sandusky. A lot of good drivers have driven there in all kinds of cars. So it was really fun to travel and be able to see tracks like that.
A late start for you, as I said, first generation racer. You get this quarter midget. We're going to put up here on the screen here in a minute. But what did this racing mean to you, and being able to, hop in one of these cars and, figure out the track, figure out the setup, your family and everybody helping you. But not only that, but to come on in and just go in the winner's circle, probably your first year out there racing.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, at that time, it was my parents and myself, and we were just figuring out, what to do. We had some help at the track, and that's what's cool about quarter midgets is everyone helps everyone. It's very family oriented because it's kids racing at the end of the day. And like any other kid sports, everyone wants their kid to be the best, but there was a true family aspect at MLRA, which was really cool to see. Like you said, I started late at 12 years old, and probably would have ran quarter midgets longer if I had started at 10 or 8 or whatever else, but just outgrew the car. But quarter midgets was really fun. It learned, basic car setup, car control, starts, restarts, lining up, the flags of racing. So it was really monumental for that. But again, grew out of it, but wouldn't trade my time in quarter midgets. Thought it was really fun, and it's cool to live 40 minutes away from there and still be able to drive by and different events. I know there's the big road course behind there that we're doing some work with as well. So to go back there and see the next generation drivers is pretty cool, because maybe they're going to be racing a 410 one day as well.
So you said, that track still exists, but is there any other tracks you guys went to? I mean, there's probably some big shows in the quarter midget deal. You got to, grasp your skills behind the wheel and being able to, take the quarter midget and exceed and do different things with the car that maybe you didn't do when you started out, of course. But is there like some big shows that you ran, and is there any, pretty big accomplishments that you take away from your quarter midget time growing up?
Yeah, from the quarter midget days, I mean, we were in at Toledo. We were going to run Kalamazoo, but something came up. But primarily ran Waterford. Again, just wanted that base setup and really use it as a stepping stone. You can travel a ton in quarter midgets, which is awesome to see. But again, we were still pretty new to it, so we didn't fully understand the true racing commitment. Obviously, MMRA had a really good local schedule on weekends and throughout the weekday as well. So ran a ton of races, I believe 20 to 30 races a year in the quarter midgets, just on a local scale. But we really wanted to dial it in, get me used to one track before we started traveling. But again, my time was so short in that just I grew so much and couldn't fit in the car anymore.
Yeah, you're a tall guy. I don't understand how half the time I see half these guys fit in these sprint cars. It took me a while to get in the sprint car, and I know they're hard to talk about. iRacing. I saw a picture out there on your social media. You had this iRacing rig that we're bringing up right here. Probably pretty cool for you to kind of sit there on your iRacing rig. Is that something that you still do to this day, since you race and you work and you do all that, or is that something that you just do in the wintertime?
It is definitely more prominent in the winter when we're not racing the full thing. But that rig actually has a really cool story behind it as well. But try to hop on the simulator at least once every 2 to 3 days just to keep me fresh, whether it's in a sprint car or something else. And I get enjoyment out of it. I'm a competitive person at heart. So whether we're playing Monopoly or I'm iRacing or racing a 410, I want to win at everything we do. But it's cool to get in a car, and obviously with iRacing, you can run a lot of different tracks and cars. But that sim rig in particular, like I said, has a really cool story. So Corey Williams, who is a fabricator for Hendrick Motorsports down in North Carolina, put out a contest when COVID happened and everything got shut down and NASCAR was doing the iRacing series on TV. He put out a post on Instagram that said, "Write me a handwritten letter. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your racing." And it was for youth drivers 16 and under. At the time, I was 12. And what else you're involved in outside of racing, whether that be school sports, clubs, things like that. So I ended up writing Corey a letter and was put in this drawing for this sim rig and actually got chosen. So it was really cool to work with Corey. Obviously, him working at Hendrick and them being such a prominent NASCAR team, and getting to know himself and his brother Dan Williams, who powder coats it. That's that Cloud9 coatings on the quarter midget. But being able to work with them was really, really cool. But he shipped it up here, and the super late model picture that's on the screen was actually for one of the races they did back in 2022. So it's really cool to see that. It's awesome, and to get to know them. But relationships are so important in the motorsports world, and to still have that and have a iRacing rig that's super, super nice, but also have a really cool story behind it. It's awesome to see every time I walk in the room.
Did you have a sweaty feeling or an anxious feeling or unknown of like, is this a scam, or did I really pulled this off? Like I really just won the sim rig?
I was blown away. When I had written the letter, it was fairly early. I think it was a 30-day window, but I had written on day 2 or 3 and honestly forgot about it. Was at the time was playing, was racing quarter midgets, but involved in other things too. Obviously it was COVID, but still was fairly active, obviously at home, and when everyone was quarantined, but got a DM on Instagram one day and said, "This is legit. Here's my phone number. Let's set up a call." And set up a call and got to talk to Corey and sent the shipping information. And a week and a half later, a semi truck pulled up in our neighborhood, and off the back of it came the sim rig on a pallet. So, but again, I'm super thankful for the people I've met and the opportunities that have been given to me. And that was just one of the coolest ones by far. And like I said, I still use it today. So it's cool that it's been able to last this long and be used.
That's cool. You have, we talked about the Pavement Sprint Car deal. The Pavement Sprint Cars have, came back to life. I mean, you got the Must See Racing series that you raced in. You have the Race for the Million now. Now you're racing dirt. Is that something that you've wanted to try to do? I mean, since they got the Race for the Million back and it's got this huge viewership, is that something that you thought in the back of your mind, knowing that you race dirt? Kind of, I don't want to say didn't give up pavement racing, but you kind of, shifted to the dirt side. Is that something you still want to do, as far as like try to race for a million next year, or if there's a seat open, would you take it?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I'm apt to drive any kind of race car, but pavement racing has a special place in my heart. Obviously, ran pavement quarter midgets, and that's where I started. But to see Silver Crown still on pavement as well, with the race for the million, obviously their point fund, their race winnings, how much they're racing for is obviously pretty tempting with the financial side of it. But there's a ton of good drivers and have been out to the Open Wheel Showdown in Las Vegas, which is a phenomenal event as well. But it's the resurgence has been really cool. Obviously, people think of sprint cars on dirt. I mean, that's where they're more famous, you could say. But to race at places, was never around to see the cars run at Winchester or Salem, but have seen YouTube clips, and there's truly nothing faster than a pavement sprint car at Salem or Winchester, or, Berlin this past weekend. I mean, just great racing as well. So would love to have a season where I'm, running full-time dirt and full-time pavement, but again, open to any opportunity, but pavement racing still has a very special place in my heart.
Yeah, we went to Canada with the Great Lakes Super Sprints with Zach Heiser and then we trucked back from Buxton Speedway all overnight to Sunday morning, and we went all the way to Lima, Ohio. Got to the hotel at like 4 a.m. whatever. Took a cat nap for 2 hours. Went to Winchester. Chase Caver's there, and Masinko got his win. I call them the non-winning sprint cars, but I guess we had a debate on social media. Somebody goes, it's just a sprint car, okay? But anyways, Winchester is no joke. If you guys get the chance to race here, that'd be sweet. But you've raced before and you've got some wins underneath your belt. Had a nice season with the Must See Racing Series. How was that time for you? And also, going to the Words Banquet and stuff like that. How was the time with, just tell us all about, this preparation for the start of the season for pavement racing and how, you finished up and how you finished in the points.
2025 on pavement was really, really fun. Going into the 2025 season, I was still winless with the pavement series. I finished second, finished third, finished everywhere but the first place position. So worked really, really hard, and picked up a ton of new partners. Other people call them sponsors. It's a partnership for myself and Charlie Baur Racing. I mean, it was cool to have new companies on the car, but tried a ton of new things with my driving, and obviously running dirt helped myself on the pavement as well. But to get the first win at Kalamazoo on July 4th was awesome. Obviously, it's America's birthday. There was a ton of fireworks. It was an awesome night. But to follow that up with a win down Lorraine, the place where the crate series was started, and it was always kind of a joke. It was like a Michigan Ohio football game. So the Michigan guys always really wanted to win down at Lorraine, and all the Ohio guys really wanted to win at Owasso. It was cool for that. But again, the starting place to win there was awesome. And then finally to win at Owasso was probably my favorite win in my career. I live about 45 minutes east of Owasso and had pretty much all my family and friends down there at the race. So it was cool to see them in victory lane. I give credit to Rex and his staff at Owasso for bringing them down. But a month prior to that, exploded my right rear tire, who pretty much everyone saw in Racing America, shot at 150 feet in the air. So definitely had the style points that race, but didn't end up getting the win. But to do that was pretty cool. But again, that was probably my favorite win. But to end with 3 wins on the year, multiple podiums, you couldn't ask for a better season. Obviously, to win the championship would have been cool, but to race with such good drivers as well. I mean, it was a fun track or fun series to race with, and hopefully it can be brought back here soon.
Yeah, I mean, Owasso Speedway is coming far ways. Putting just tons of money in the track has been pretty cool. But let's keep talking about the pavement sprint car deal, because there's a lot of different tracks you can hit here in Michigan. I mean, you got Kalamazoo, you got Berlin, you've got Owasso. When they come and race the sprint cars, and I know you raced at all these different tracks in your life. What track out of those 3 stands out the most to you as far as a track that you think is like a challenge and something that you can kind of look forward to going to the track?
I think Berlin Raceway is one of those. Um, Berlin's just such an interesting track. Obviously, one and two, it's a I'd call it a standard oval. I mean, every track's a little different, but three and four, I feel like you're turning the car 5, 6 times, in there. I mean, that you have to drive three and four, and whether it's in a sprint car, a super modified, a late model, a modified, it doesn't matter. Every driver is going to say Berlin Raceways three and four is totally different. The way you drive it into three and then come down and run the apron, it's just a different racetrack, and it makes for really good racing. Whether, like I said, whether it be super late models or sprint cars or anything in between, it's one of those tracks that it's super fast, it's super technical, and obviously a really nice facility as well. But in the same case, that Owasso Speedway too. Again, Rex and his team have grown Owasso since 2022, and to be able to see that plan, and obviously, like I said, living close to Owasso Speedway, to see the community effect as well. Owasso as a city get behind it, neighboring cities, Flint and Fenton and Brighton and Flushing get behind Owasso. It's really cool to see that community impact help grow. When people come in for races, they have to go to hotels and restaurants and things like that. So it's cool to see that local economy grow. But just a very technical track as well, very, very fast, high banked, just a fun place to run as well.
A fun place to run, but a risky place to run as well, as far as it goes with watching the races there. The biggest thing that we'll ask you before we start playing some of our partnership advertisements and stuff, before we take a quick break. What does it mean to you to have the support from your family that that supports you every single day? That kind of is with you, as this is the first time the family's ever had an actual racer in the family. But also not only support from your family, but we already talked about the Blondes. What does a Blondes, because they're family to you, they're giving you a lot of opportunity and a lot of sacrifice and a lot of advice and stuff like that. What does it mean from the Blonde family and your own family to give your support every single weekend and throughout the year to be the best driver and the best Charlie Baur you can be?
It means everything. First off, without my family, I wouldn't be here. And they've sacrificed a ton, whether it be late nights working on the car or different things. My family's number one, and I give my parents a ton of credit. They've helped push me to do what I want to do, and played sports growing up, but have supported my dream of racing. Since I started. And one thing that they told me on day one was, we want this to be fun. We want you to enjoy this. We want you to be competitive, but most of all, keep it fun. And if you're not having fun, we can sell everything and we'll go do something else. So there was no pressure from my parents. And I think that's really, really big. Especially in, you see in quarter midgets and things like that, some of the parents who have been around racing all their life push their kids to the absolute limit, and whether it works or not is everyone's personal preference. But to have that freedom to let them say, do what I want to do, it means everything to me. And obvious, like I said, my family supports me 110%. And every time I make a post, I make sure to call them out, because there's so many of them. But along with that is, like I said, we have partners and set of sponsors, but the crew as well. Obviously, this year we have Alex Atillo and Robert Flanagan coming on, so they're family to us as well, and they sacrifice a ton, whether it's working on the car or going to tracks. They could be on the boat on the weekend or doing anything else. So it means a ton for them to sacrifice their time to be able to show up at the track. And same with the Blondes as well. Again, working for Rhino Racing in 2024, they let me stay at their house, when we were racing at Butler, bought my pit passes and just provided me so many opportunities. And obviously working with them as a partner now, that relationship has just grown closer. But to have gotten to know Jason on a personal level, other than just a competitor, and along with the entire Blonde family and Rhino Racing family, it's a very tight knit community that cares about people, and it's really good to see that. I mean, I think we're one of the best teams because of that. I mean, our cultures, and from what I see, is so different and inviting, and it's awesome to see that, and just surrounded by so many amazing people.
Yeah, as you know, racing community is a special place. No matter who races, whatever. I mean, four cylinder, or street stock, a mod, a big block modified, a micro sprint. List can go on and on. But the entire racing community is watching you and they're supporting you. Whether if they're family to you or not, I mean, they're all supporting you. We're supporting you year through Racing Paradise. But you talked about partners. We have partners. We got to think. We got to keep the lights on. It's time to start thinking some partners that we have. First, Blondes Outdoor Services. We want to thank you for your support. So I want to thank every each one of those people. Ben Graves, Abe Graves down at Jonesville Lumber, primary sponsor for this podcast, the Short Chute, presented to you by Jonesville Lumber. We want to thank them so much. 100 years of service in the city of Jonesville, lumberyard that supports you. You got a house repair, you got a home improvement, you got something you want to make happen with your house, inside or outside. Jonesville Lumber is a place to be. Can get your house looking pretty nice. Blondes Outdoor Services. Hey, winter is coming up. Make sure you guys call them. Snow removal is right around the corner. Winter is right around the corner. If you don't want to be shoveling your steps, if you don't want to shovel your driveway or plow your driveway, Blondes Outdoor Services is one call away. They do patios, all other kinds of stuff, mow your yard, leaf removal, and also do pretty nice patios that I've got to work on with Evan Blonde and Chase Miller as well. And they also offer dumpster services. So make sure to call Blondes Outdoor Services, get in contact with them and tell them that I sent you their way. And also the same thing to Jonesville Lumber. We want to thank them for their support. Let's get back into the podcast here. Charlie Baur, the Short Chute, presented to you by Jonesville Lumber. So Charlie, we were talking about racing and this and that. The biggest thing we want to talk to you about after this break is what is the long-term goal for you, and not only you, but your family that supports you. What do they see in you? What is the long-term goal that you want to go achieve moving forward with your racing career?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's two goals. One's realistic, and then one is a little more far-fetched. But obviously, everyone dreams of making racing their living, and would love to run, with a national series, whether that be, the World of Outlaws or High Limit. Obviously, there's a long road to get there, but to be able to race for a living, whether it be in sprint cars or other series as well. But to say I'm a true race car driver, that is my only job, is the dream. But obviously have to be realistic. I go to school, I go to work, I go to Northwood University up in Midland, going to be a senior there this year for automotive aftermarket management and motorsports management. But, going to Northwood has taught me a lot about the business side of the industry, whether that be finance, marketing, sales, logistics, everything like that, so for me, the realistic dream would be to own my own business and be able to race when I wanted to. I feel being an entrepreneur, you're owning your own business. Obviously, you're your own boss and have to make tough calls, but it also allows you more freedom than working for someone else. If there's a Friday night show or a midweek show somewhere, to be able to go race that. So, but to be able to build a business up and one day when I'm older to be able to provide the same opportunities and hopefully more to the next generation of drivers, whoever that may be, to be able to keep racing going and kind of usher in the next era of Charlie Baur racing as well. Obviously, want to race for a really, really long time, but no, I can't do it forever. So just try to plan ahead, but, realistically want to own my own business and be able to race when I want and be able to say, this is where I want to go. But again, can't do that without, amazing partners. But, if I could make one wish, it'd be to race for a living right now, but, want to own that business and go from there.
Okay. That's a solid plan. You didn't really talk about your, long-term goal as far as like, you talked about, owning the business and this and that. What would be like, is it the Outlaws? Is it the High Limit? Is it, a big pavement series that you see yourself racing at as far as like the non, attainable, like something you feel like you can't reach? What kind of series would that look like if you had the opportunity to go and race in one?
Yeah, I mean, really, I'll take any opportunity I get, but to run with the Outlaws or High Limit, just because of how prominent those series are, and obviously sprint cars are the thing. I mean, it'd be really cool to run. I mean, the Indy 500 would be an amazing race to run, and run historic races like that. But to run with the World of Outlaws and High Limit. It would be awesome just to be able to go see the country, race with the best sprint car drivers in the world there, but also want to be competitive too. I think that's a big thing. And, if we're competitive, racing with the Outlaws or High Limit, whatever the two, I mean, both are very, very competitive. That's awesome, but you want to be competitive as well. But, if I got the opportunity, would love to travel nationally and see where my career goes from there.
That's awesome. It's cool that we can sit here and talk about what it seems to you that might not be realistic, but if you have a dream and you keep chasing it and you keep doing the right things at the local short tracks at Butler and all them places, people watch those races. I've talked to Motor Racing Network guys and people that announce for NASCAR, and they know about Butler, they know about the 410 weekly series racing. Let's talk about your season as far as I don't know as far as if you're running for points for Butler or if you're racing all over the place, if you're picking this race and this race. How was it kind of been racing this year and kind of getting some more seat time as far as racing in the dirt tracks?
Yeah, so our plan this year coming into 2026 was to run the full point series at Butler. Obviously, with my health issue the past 2 weeks, got knocked off a little bit off our points run, but again, had some races to make that up. But every race at Butler, and we've ran with High Limit, we ran with the Outlaws, with IRA, and we plan to run some races with the All-Stars as well, being at Hartford, 996, and a couple other tracks. So we felt it was a fair mix between Butler, to really get our feet under us and then be able to still travel a little bit. Obviously, Must See Racing was a traveling series, so I enjoyed being on the road, going to a different track every single time. So, racing a weekly series was different for me, but it was really, really cool to see that. And obviously, Butler having a 410 weekly division, you get different cars still. I mean, obviously you have your point runners, but you get a lot of different cars, and just been improving every race. I mean, myself as a driver, I feel have improved significantly since the start of the season, feel much more comfortable in the car. But, just improving the setups and really getting everything dialed in. Again, we're a very new team to this. I mean, obviously have the support from Rhino Racing, who have had, some really, really good success. But, I'm new to dirt as a driver. And we're growing. I mean, I always say we're like a stock, and you want to invest early before we hit it big. But we're just really growing, and that's the attitude that myself and everyone else shares on the team. Is if we have a really good run, we're going to figure out why it was a good run and be able to build on that. But we've had a couple of rough nights, and we've been able to bounce back from that and figure out what went wrong, and what we can do to improve on it and make sure it doesn't happen again. Obviously, everyone's human and makes mistakes, but to have that attitude is really, really good, and we're just going to keep on building the season.
You talked about Butler Motor Speedway. Not an easy track to race at. It takes a lot as far as, probably like the engine goes and this and that, because the straightaways are just kind of, to me, as far as a perspective of watching the racing, the straightaways are long, high bank track. It's rough. It's risk versus reward kind of deal. There at Butler, you can run it down. The tires. The drill. Up top, the middle, the track changes and this and that. Tim Wilbur and Jenny Wilbur and the entire Wilbur family. A big shout out to them. They changed that track a 360. Then they turned it into 720. As far as them spinning around and turning that track back where it is. It's been probably a challenge for you guys, as far as, being new to racing and then racing against guys that have known that track and have a huge notebook there. Is there any sharing when it comes to, not like car setup, but just kind of helping somebody that's fresh and new like you are?
Yeah, and that really that help and that sharing has come from Rhino Racing. Obviously, Jason has raced there since the '90s, so he's gotten to see the progression of Butler over the years, which has helped me a ton. And again, credit them a ton. But we're learning as well. I mean, we're picking up on different things. Whether that be car setup, whether that be my driving. We're picking up on things and making notes in our notebook. And every car and every driver is different. I mean, Jason has provided a ton of insight, but he has a different style than myself, and he likes his cars differently than I do. So you could get 24 sprint cars, put the exact same setup in it, and one guy may say it's awesome and another driver may say that the car's junk and they need to change the setup. So it's really dialing it in now for what I like and what we think is good. And obviously, you're bouncing ideas off of, and again, that collaboration effort, between our team and with Rhino Racing as well. It's really good to have that. Obviously, two heads think better than one. So to be able to bounce ideas off of, but running weekly, you are able to keep your setup fairly similar, but going to I-96, going to Hartford, that's when our setups have changed a little bit. But obviously with dirt, your setup may be good one week and not so good the next week. So it's an interesting challenge for us, and it's fun to pinpoint that challenge as well.
You got a lot of people that are in the stands watching you, but not only just you, but everybody else that races at Butler. Butler is like one of the biggest tracks that I've ever been to, right? I've been to tracks with the Great Lakes Super Sprints. I've been to different tracks. They have their weekly series show racing there, and then they bring in a huge, regional series is what the Great Lakes Super Sprints is, and they don't have a lot of butts in the seats. They don't have a lot of people that are in the seats and watching the races. What does it mean to go to Butler, not only just race, but you go out to qualifying, you watch the races, you look at the stands, they're packed. Is there a lot of people? It's probably not overwhelming, but it's probably pretty exciting to go out there and just compete, knowing that like you have not just maybe a couple thousand eyes watching every week.
It is. I mean, when we do the 4 wide and, we do our wave lap, I'm able to see a little bit of the crowd. But the race fans make the race. I mean, without race fans, I couldn't race, or, there'd be no racetrack at all. So appreciate all the fans that come out. It's cool to meet everyone, whether we're doing an autograph session or they come in the pits. And I always suggest people go into the pits for their first race. I mean, there's no other experience like it. Especially at a dirt track, there's dirt, there's mud. You get to hear the cars, you get to see things up close, and you really don't understand, how much work goes into a race day for a team, whether you're a local team or whether you be in the World of Outlaws or High Limit. I mean, every single team works super, super hard, brings a really nice car to the track. So for a fan to be able to see that is awesome. But again, you talked about passionate Butler fans. They love to cheer every time, someone wins or there's a caution or whatever it may be. I hear the crowd cheering, and it's been really cool to run at Butler for a while now, and to meet a lot of cool people. And, it means the world to me when people buy a t-shirt. I mean, to them, it's $20, $30 and they get a pretty cool t-shirt. But to me, to see, my car, my name, the sponsors that help me, the partners, to be able to be worn by someone else is pretty cool. And, they chose to wear that Charlie Baur shirt that day. So it just means a ton to me. And like you said, very passionate race fans that show up every single week. I mean, when we ran with High Limit, to see when we pulled in the parking lot, all the campers, all the cars. It's honestly, overwhelming at first when you see them just pulling in. I mean, once you're on the track, you're focused on racing, but to see that support, and it just goes to show that all the people that say motorsports is dying and, oh, well, there's not fans in the seats anymore, it just proves them wrong. I think motorsports is stronger than ever, whether it be 410 dirt sprint cars, whether it be late models, whether it be NASCAR, IndyCar, doesn't matter. People are interested in motorsports, and it's here to stay. And you can go see all the race fans, and they're supporting the companies that support racing, which is awesome to see too.
Yeah, it's just awesome. I went to the high limit race and I saw you and you guys were running, and I wish you guys luck. I came up there, went up there and shook your hand, and you guys were fighting against all these guys that had all this crazy equipment and stuff. But for me, when high limit comes to town, it's so special. And I don't know if there's a feeling that you feel about this as far as a home track for you, if there's a certain thing that is for you. But I'll explain it my way. As far as going to Butler Motor Speedway and pulling up and seeing the stands packed, sold out, people, in line waiting 3 hours, 4 hours before the ticket booths open to get a ticket, to find a spot in the seat. And for the announcers, the Flow Racing announcers, Chase Rodman and Tony Laporta and all those guys saying, you need to squeeze together like you love each other to get more space to sit in the seats. I just think it gives me goosebumps every time I hear them say that, because it makes my heart so happy for not only Wilbur family, but Butler. And that's, Butler's my home track. When, as you said, you were going to, Jason was going to tracks there at Butler. I was going to, Butler Motor Speedway when I was a kid, watching races in the stands, and now seeing it go full circle, having high limit, having USAC, having all these places. People, if you guys are watching and you have not been to Butler Motor Speedway yet, you need to go there. And I think the first race, if I'm not mistaken, Charlie, I think they should go to high limit next year, as far as like if they get them back, which I think they are, because they're doing such a good job over there at Butler.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome when one of those big series comes to town. Obviously, as a racer and race fan as well. I mean, every driver's a race fan because they watch racing too. But to be able to race with the guys you watch on Flow or Dirt Vision, and to be able to race with such competitive cars too. I mean, whether it be in California, Michigan, Florida, North Carolina, it doesn't matter. You have your drivers and teams that are competitive everywhere they go, and just to get the opportunity to race with them is really, really cool. Obviously, everyone's super competitive, and it makes for great racing. It's a great experience. And just for us, like I said, I mean, to be able to race with them and to be able to learn from them too, to see what they do on a given night and how they run a track, the track. And it's just an awesome experience for everyone. And you definitely see that, like you said, at the track as well. I mean, when people are squeezing into the seats, they're buying hot dogs and hamburgers. I mean, it's just a good event for everyone.
Yeah, it's a good time. I have two things. We talked about Rhino Racing. What is the deal with Rhino Racing, and what does that look like for you and your family race team, and joining forces together at the racetrack? Parts. What does all that entail?
Yeah, I mean, they help me out a ton. They help us out with parts, and have given me some very, very good opportunities to help get my start in 410 sprint car racing as well. You mentioned them giving us the shot with that 360 last year, and to be able to prove to them that I can drive and there's potential there is really, really cool. But like I said, the insight from Jason, the fuel knowledge that Phil has, the car setup that Boots has, everyone has a role on the team, and it has helped me working for them and observing. It's a well-oiled machine, and since then, with Charlie Baur Racing, we've tried to be a well-oiled machine as well. Everyone has their job, and there's a process to everything, because less things are messed up when a process is in place. So just taking, bits and pieces. But again, we park next to each other every single week, whether that's, with Jason, myself and Brad, there's insight going on between the trailers. And, if one car needs something, the two trailers are working to figure out, what they have, what they can do to help to get that car back out on track. So just to have that, security is really, really good. And again, it's not just a partnership. I mean, I truly feel I've gotten to know every single one of the people on Rhino Racing. So just from a personality standpoint, they're just amazing people at the end of the day.
Yeah, Blonde family is hands down one of the best. Talk to Jennifer and talk to Jason. Just hands down good people. Two things actually. Well, save your partners and everybody that supports you at the end before we get off of here. But what is the biggest piece of advice somebody has given you as far as racing, your personal life? What is the biggest piece of advice, and how do you take that and how do you hold that to the highest standard that somebody is passing down wisdom to you and giving you this piece of advice? How do you handle that, and how do you represent them in the best way?
I have a few short ones. The first one's more racing related. Obviously, in racing, you have to be able to finish the race to do it, or to win. So to be able to race smart. On sprint cars, you're always on the edge, but to really find that line of running the car hard versus holding back for maybe a lap or two, but making sure you're there at the end. But obviously, that's a little bit of a given. But the two other pieces, the first one is you never know who your boss might be, and the second one is relationships are everything. The first one, I was always taught to treat people with kindness and respect the way I want to be treated, because you never know who they may be out to be. Obviously, it helps to know people, but again, you should try to be kind to everyone. But the second piece, I mean, relationships are everything. As I mentioned before, we call them partners at Charlie Baur Racing. So to see that and have a personal relationship with everyone on my race car is really, really cool to see. And from a business standpoint, it helps strengthen those, and you really get the return on the investment for their company. But you get to know these people. You understand who they are as a person. It's not just, oh, we ran this and, I need money from you. I mean, you really get to know these people, and really form that partnership. And I feel that's when, things can grow from there, because, both parties are benefiting. It's not just one-sided. And it, like I said, it helps to know people, and you never know. I mean, it's awesome to go places and, catch up with someone from quarter midgets or whatever it may be. It helps to know people, but, like I said, relationships are everything. I've been told that by multiple people, but it already started to see the effect it has in my life. And obviously, as people get older and you meet more people, they become more prominent. But again, treat everyone the way you want to be treated as well.
That's awesome. Sometimes when I say that, people are just like, I'm just going to say one, but Charlie has lots to say as far as the advice and wisdom that he's got given to
I've had
him.
a lot of good people to tell me that as well. Sorry to cut you off there, but I've had a ton of good mentors in my life. So try to be like a sponge and soak everything up when someone that has some skill set and some knowledge in their head. So just like I said, be like a sponge and soak it all up.
That's awesome. The biggest thing before we get out of here is you got to thank your partners. But before you thank your partners, how can they get a hold of you, the Charlie Baur? How do they get a hold of you? Is there agent they got to contact you through? Is it just you? Rising star here in the sprint car industry. How do they get in contact with you, and how do you set up like a partnership, stuff like that?
No agent yet. Yeah, we're not that big, but no, it's you can contact me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, X as well. But on Instagram, it's Charlie_Baur. That's my personal account and my racing account. So DM me on there. But give me a follow. That'd be awesome. Thank you for the support in advance. But on Facebook, it's Charlie Baur, and then Charlie Baur Racing on Facebook as well. We do post on YouTube and TikTok a little bit, but Instagram and Facebook are the primary sources. But charliebaur.com as well. There's some information about myself just as a person on there, as well as merchandise too. So again, love it when I see people wearing the t-shirt. It helps support myself and my race team. But charliebaur.com and all the major social medias as well. And it's spelled Baur as well. Everyone wants to put an E. It's not like the hockey brand. It's just Charlie Baur.
Yeah, I almost did that myself too. Is looking up your name like, why is it popping up? And I was like, no E, just U. So people remember that. If you're listening to the podcast, don't put an E in Bauer. It's Baur. Else you won't be able to find him and support, this nice young man that is, given his time to come on here to the podcast, but also talk about his racing career. Finally, who do you got to think that gets you to the racetrack, who supports you and all your partners that, are bundled up to help you out through the 2026 season and more years to come?
Yeah, first off, my family and my friends support me a ton, whether that's coming to races, working on the car with me. It just means a ton from all them. So first off, can't thank them enough. But getting into our partners, obviously Stahl's Collection, they do a ton for me on the track and off the track. It's really cool to work with them. It's a private car collection down in Chesterfield, Michigan. They have vehicles from the 1890s all the way up until today. So it's a really cool place to go for everyone, but they've been a supporter of mine since 2024. So really, really good to have them on the car. But again, we mentioned Rhino Racing a lot in this podcast, but a huge supporter of myself and my racing. Randy Wise Buick GMC Chevrolet. It's like the dealership I work at, but just a great organization, great place to buy a vehicle from. Western Michigan Fleet Parts and Northwood University, Mother's Polishes, Schaefer's Oil, Hefner Racing Products, Ameriguard Sword Systems, Justice Brothers, TBM Brakes, shopcharliebaur.com, Race One Wraps. All these people do a ton for me, whether they're product sponsors, whether they're financial sponsors. It doesn't matter. Every single one of these people have a special place in my heart and a special and are an integral part of the race team. So wouldn't be able to go up and down the road without them. So be sure to check them out. They're on all the major social media as well. But they support myself in racing. So always be sure to support companies that support motorsports as well.
That's awesome. Hey, it takes an army, as I said before in the last podcast. A lot of support means a lot. If you guys are interested in supporting Charlie Baur, make sure to follow him on his social medias. His name's right here in correct spelling. So take a screenshot of the podcast and make sure that you guys got his name right before you go out there and mess it up and support the wrong Bowers, because there's Bowers that race UMP mods. So I don't think they're related at all, but
No,
I think that's with the E, right?
No, but again, can't thank my crew enough. Obviously, my parents, Eric and Stephanie, and then Alex and Robert as well. They do a ton for myself and work hard to make my racing possible. So couldn't do it without them.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, Charlie. Hopefully, we wish you the best from all of us here at Racing Paradise. We hope that you have a heck of a season, and we hope that you feel better as far as your health. We're all praying for you to get back to the track, and hopefully we see you in Victory Lane here soon.
Yeah. Thank you for the good luck and the prayers as well. And our plan is to be at Hartford Speedway this Friday night with the All-Stars and be at Butler Motor Speedway Saturday for the points event. So look forward to seeing everyone at the racetrack as well. But again, thank you, Jacob, for having me on, and this was an awesome podcast.
Anytime. I appreciate you for coming on board, and good luck this weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime. Let's go on in and thank some of the sponsors that make this happen before we close up shop. I just want to thank Blondes Outdoor Services and Jonesville Lumber for one final time. Thank you guys so much for all the fans that are supporting the show and making this happen as far as it goes. Charlie Baur, hold on a minute, gotta take this logo off, sorry. Charlie Baur was pretty cool here in the show. We appreciate him coming on in. A good person to bring on the show. A young racer, growing up, first generation racer, and trying to do it his own way with his family and some help of Rhino Racing, a pretty legendary team that is with him. So anyways, let's go in and thank these sponsors who are coming and supporting us. First off, thank you to Blondes Outdoor Services, and thank you once again to Jonesville Lumber for all your support. We really do appreciate you. Ben Graves, Abe Graves, with Jonesville Lumber, Blondes Outdoor Services, Chase Miller, Evan Blonde, make sure to call them. Dumpster service, snow removal, all that kind of jazz is right. Just a phone call away, just for you. So thanks again for all the support, everybody. After we're done playing these advertisements for our partners, we're going to take it down to the music, intro music show, and then we'll end the stream. So thank you guys all so much for tuning on in. We'll see you guys next time, and thank you all for the support.